folks, I'm about to start a series of videos about trade shows, which I think is a really interesting part of event marketing. Um, but before we dive into that, I want to make sure that we've all got some shared understanding of some terminology that's used in trade shows and actually across all of events, because um, I'm going to be throwing a lot of vocabulary in you in this module, and I want to make sure you guys are all on the same page, know what I'm talking about. So the first thing is, we talked about this before. Event marketing is fairly new. It has not been thought of as a practice for, it's certainly within the past 100 years is when we've really begun to think of this as a sub-discipline of marketing promotion. But events have been going on forever. Um, and it's been thousands of years that we've thought of events as a business in itself. Um, so a lot of these terms that we're going to be talking about are not necessarily terms that were created for event marketing. And we, as marketers, might repurpose them and use them a little bit differently when we're referring to trade shows or other types of events. So just keep that in mind. Okay, we talked earlier, an event is a social occasion that brings individuals together for a common purpose. So there are different types of events, and each of these can be interpreted a little bit differently. I want to make sure we have some kind of common language. So the first one would be an exhibition. And when we talk about exhibitions, we often think in terms of art museums and galleries. So it kind of makes sense. Like a good definition would be it brings together individuals to see tangible items on display. Festivals are used often more to describe, like, music, art, things. People are getting excited about come enjoy some entertainment. So you could think of a festival as bringing people together to celebrate a common theme or shared appreciation of the same activities or beliefs. Because festivals often can be focused around holidays, religious events. That's another. It's not just about the arts. It's people are coming together because they have kind of already formed a tribe about either something they believe in or something they're passionate about, usually the arts. A fair is, I think, used often to best describe when that kind of event, that show, is for a limited duration of time. And in truth, most events are of limited duration, but when we're talking about a fair, we know that it's got a very set schedule. Usually they run every year, so it's something that people look forward to. Another thing about fairs is that usually it's designed to both have fun and conduct business. It attracts people to come in for the fun, and then hopefully while they're there, they might provide some opportunities for purchasing, not just food and entertainment, but there's possibilities to interact with businesses. When we talk about an exposition, or they're often called expos for short, these are usually directed more towards a consumer audience. And I think that the reason that's important to identify is that when we talk about fair, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Puyallup Fair. I'm thinking about going down there and eating scones and having a good time. But a lot of fairs are actually things that are specific to the B2B industry, where we're bringing people together around industry. So when we're talking about an exposition, these tend to be very, very large fairs that are kind of designed to have consumers come in and experience with brands. So it's going to be a lot more about brand building than it might be the sales aspect that you see in a trade show. Now, you'll remember in the video on the history of event marketing, we talked about World's Fairs. That is a type of exposition. It's the proto, exposition, and really kind of set the stage for doing that. But there were some precedents before that that go back, 300-400 years. And I posted an article on Canvas that goes into a lot more detail about the history of fairs and how right from the beginning this type of event has largely been about marketing and commerce. I think it's well worth a read. So, here's an image of the World's Fair that's going on right now, Expo 2020. It was supposed to start in 2020, but because of COVID, it got pushed out to 2021. This one's actually been really controversial because, um, you know, a big part of what happens at World's Fairs is different countries are promoting themselves. They're building booths, not booths, but more installations, large pavilions that kind of show off their country and show off what they're, um, how technologically advanced they are, how good they are to their people. Because in a lot of ways, what they're doing is they're trying to get businesses to imagine, could we do business in that company? Should we build an office there? Take advantage of their less expensive workforce. And it's gotten a lot of, this fair has gotten a lot of controversy because a lot of people are saying that in the United Arab Emirates and Dubai, there is a glossing over of a lot of civil rights abuses and things that are, um, it's kind of um, being inauthentic to be showing all these previews of countries talking about how great every one is and supportive when a lot of the countries have issues with human rights. So I don't want to get into whether this fair does more good or bad, but it's really interesting to be thinking about how world fairs are going to be really thought differently under a lot more scrutiny than they have in the past, as there's a much higher degree of political correctness and examination of people's responsibility to hold countries accountable. So anyway, just an interesting side note. I'd much rather talk about fairs. I love going to the Puyallup Fair. I mean, those scones are delicious. Um, as we said before, these are really kind of focused on that mix of providing entertainment and allowing an opportunity for some commerce. Um, they're really run because they make money for the people that are running the events. That's the purpose. But while that's really great for them, it's also great for usually the local area because it can stimulate the economy. And it's very key to note for our chapter here, fairs often feature trade shows. Okay, so when I say what is a trade show, it is a type of fair. It is often referred to, particularly outside the United States, as trade fairs. So this is an event that brings together individuals for a limited duration of time to research offerings and conduct business. When we have trade shows, they're usually specific to a certain industry or maybe a certain horizontal, so focusing on like what role people play within a company. They are noteworthy among the larger collection of fairs because trade shows really focus on person to person communications. They do this because sales teams need an outlet of where they can go and meet their B2B customers. So when they set up a vendor booth, they really are kind of creating a place where sales team can meet with either prospects or follow up with existing customers. Because the trade shows are so focused on things about industry, and it brings together this group of people that have that shared thing in common. It is a really terrific idea to go to trade shows, not just to display and be a vendor, but to go and do research. This gives you a chance to figure out, hey, what are my competitors doing? How are they either succeeding or not succeeding at talking with um, the same prospects that I'd like to be talking to? It's also really important for you to be keeping up with the trends of what's going on in your industry. And you can get off that trade show floor and you can go to some of the sessions and see some of the presentations. Depending on the quality of the show, you could have really great information provided. You could have really garbage information provided. But choose the right trade show, and that's one of the best ways to keep up with what's going on in your industry. And I think it's really great just to observe how consumers, or not consumer, but the B2B buyers are walking up to other people's booths and seeing what are they doing right, what are they doing wrong in terms of having these conversations. So I want to make sure that you think of trade shows as being a terrific opportunity for doing research. Okay, that is it for our first in a series of trade show videos. I hope you'll join me for the next one, and we'll dive a little bit deeper.